Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where I've entitled it The Bug Season, and we are in full force with black flies and sandflies, and it's hardest on the wolves that have shed the most, and that's Luna and Bolts. As yearlings, they tend not to have a very thick coat, and they tend to shed it out pretty quickly. Luna tries to seek refuge in some of the vegetation, staying kind of under cover to try to avoid the bugs, but it's definitely making these wolves very restless. And we're hoping for a fairly short-lived season. Typically the black flies are out month of May, but since May was still winter, we see them here in early June, and they're really the thickest kind of in this early part of the summer season. Hopefully they'll die down a bit, be replaced by mosquitoes and black flies and various other flies that are as annoying, but that don't seem to be as problematic for the wolves. Anyway, so the wolves that didn't shed, like Denali and Aiden and Shadow Malik, are not dealing or having as many issues with the flies. So how do you get relief from black flies? Well, you go into some kind of cover, and this is the inside of the main den. All of our dens are concrete, which Grizzer recently demonstrated as he destroyed the wood doghouse that we had in his enclosure. So everything's concrete, and that concrete means that it's cooler, and so that bare ground in the den and just that shade keeps it cooler and less buggy. Going in the water helps as well, and so the ponds are up and running. We've got all three ponds filled, and algae control has been started, so hopefully they'll stay relatively clear throughout this season. The other thing that we can do is wood chips, and here is Aiden demonstrating the benefit of laying in some fresh chips. There's some odor repellent capabilities. We do use some cedar on the top of the chips. This is actually pine, but we'll add cedar at the top, and that cedar oil helps as far as bug repellent. So that was Bolts walking amongst Aiden there, and Aiden, like I said, taking advantage of those chips, and it's good for Aiden to get some relaxation. But you can see those ears twitching. These black flies go right in your ears, around your ears. They are very annoying, humans and wolves alike. Another thing that we may do is feed a frozen piece of meat, and this is a beaver. We've put him in middle of the week. Actually, this wasn't part of their scheduled feeding. This was just some extra frozen beaver that they can gnaw on. We may use ice cubes. We may use frozen beaver tails, anything that helps cool them off. Again, these wolves are covered with hair. They've adapted for colder weather, not warmer weather. And so we see issues in the summer also happen to be pollen related. There's a lot of catkins and a lot of pollen that's coming off of trees. And so far, no issues with allergies. We have had wolves in the past that have had some weepy eyes and allergic reactions, but none of these guys seem to have any issues with it. So you can see here, these are Aiden's ear in the camera. Luna and Bolts being typical yearlings again. Luna's been a little bit stiffer, and part of the reason is because in the summer we don't use straw, and so we don't have that kind of cushion for her to lay in. So everything's kind of hard. Even though we do have wood chips, it's a little bit painful, I believe, for her when she's laying down a lot. But as you can see here, once she's moving, she's very agile, and she's very capable of running and making quick turns and things. So the issue, I think, is just really stiffness and possibly even joint related. As you can see, Luna's mobility is not affected. This stiffness seems to be when she's lying around. As soon as she's active, she seems to have no issues whatsoever. Our veterinarian was here on Tuesday. We vaccinated all the wolves for rabies and all of the younger animals for parvo distemper, and they did observe Luna for a while and feel like she's moving really good, and she's definitely an active yearling. So we're very pleased with that, and had a good annual checkup. So over in Grizzer's enclosure, Grizzer has a pond, but there's nothing funner than taking the hose from the waterers. We obviously have ponds, but we also have clean water that we encourage the wolves to drink out of on a daily basis. And we are continuing to kind of get some of that excess hair. It's a trade-off. I mean, the hair does help the fly issue, but the hair also makes wolves hot. So we try, if it's loose and dangling, we try to brush it off and get rid of it. Grizzard doesn't have nearly as much issues with black flies. His enclosure isn't nearly as wooded, and so there's a trade-off. Obviously, it's smaller and it doesn't have as nice a vegetation as the rest of the enclosures, but that also means that it doesn't breed a lot more as many flies, and so he doesn't have as many issues as the other packs do with biting flies. So again, here you can see Grizzard is very fond of being brushed and has a very relaxed posture there for the staff as they kind of groom him. We also do tick checks. We do treat for ticks with a application on the base of their neck, but we can't do that until we get rid of some hair. It's very hard to get a tick absorption, a liquid to absorb on their skin when you have so much hair and it's so thick. So we'll get some of that off their necks and then do our tick treatments. So over in retirement, again, same kind of thing. We have Malik with an excessive amount of hair, and we're pulling it out on a daily basis. These guys are shedding faster probably than anyone else, meaning large volumes are coming out. They also are the least likely to actually lay down and allow us to brush them. It's usually kind of a drive-by with the brush, meaning Malik will kind of go by and you hold the brush out and you try to, catch a few tufts of hair. Most of the time we're grooming these guys by hand, so that makes it a little bit harder. They don't look as well groomed as the other wolves. But anyways, so again, Shadow has some fresh chips on the den that'll help keep them a little protected, so it's a little softer place to lie. And then also it does have some bug repellent capabilities. We've been noticing again with Shadow, he does not do well in the summertime. He's much better. All of these wolves are much better in the winter cold than they are in the summer heat. And so we're always very cautious with all of our wolves to make sure that we are monitoring signs of heat exhaustion or any kind of heat stress, any vomiting, any lethargy, any signs of mobility issues, that kind of thing. So as we watched Shadow and as the day progressed, as I was filming, he definitely in this next clip looked a little tired. And so, again, could be bugs in the eyes. They've all got a little bit of fly bites right around their eyes. You're seeing some of those sandfly or black fly bites. Staff have them as well. But these are the kind of things that we look for, especially at these 13-year-olds, and making sure that, that we aren't having some overheating issues with the warm conditions and full winter hair. So I'll leave you with Shadow howling. The angle's a little bit weird. I had left the enclosure, and I'm photographing through the fence. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.